fan system too. So as part of your flight maintenance, you're going to make sure that those objects are clear. You're also going to check the propellers. So in the field, once you're out and get this set up, you're going to unfold the props, and you're just going to give a physical and visual feel of the propellers. Make sure there are no cracks, there are no nicks. This is all part of your Part 107 maintenance too. The leading edge is the most dangerous point. So if there are any nicks, these are really thin plastic. They're fiber reinforced. They're very strong for what they are. I mean, they're also very super sharp. Never fly this at like neck level. Higher is better. Keep it away from people. Don't get it. Don't touch it. Don't get near it. They will lacerate you very, very badly and cause injury and or death. So be very careful of this. But just watch for nicks in the front. Anything more than about a 1/16 of an inch or so, you'll want to replace the propeller, specifically on the leading edge, because that's where the most stress is, and it can cause a stress fracture and explode in the sky. Should something happen to one of the propellers, bird strike, something in the air, or the motor dies out, the aircraft has an automatic, I hesitate to use the word crash landing, but it has a controlled crash landing routine that automatically starts. So if it detects an error, we'll talk about this when we get the drone. This has a very, very robust health management system. Each system on this aircraft, the motors, the ESC, the payload, the lights, everything has a checklist internally. It will warn you if something is going wrong by components. So you can check those components. But should a motor fail, what it will do is it will immediately cease operations and start a spiral. It'll start spinning as fast as it can to put the other three motors into all directions at one time, and it will basically spiral itself down the ground. It will crash. You will probably break a leg. The payload may go flying, but you won't. It won't be catastrophic. Okay. Mostly. We actually had a customer that had to happen to, and it did just like it was advertised. They clipped a wire with the legs. They tipped it right over and comes through. Okay. So before you fly the field, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to unfold the props. You never want to start the motors up like this. You'll shake the drone apart. Okay. You don't have to be 100% parallel. If you're like this, that's close enough. Okay. It may wobble when it starts up. The centrifugal force is going to pull those out. So that's all that keeps us in. There's nothing else holding that on the net, and then we'll spin. Okay. While I'm on the ground, I typically fold them in to get them out of the way. Okay. These are your radio antennas. That's where the signal is going to come from. Also your magnetic compass. These are your GNSS antennas. These are what's receiving your satellite signal. So this is a base station at a known point. It's sending its information to the controller. The controller's beaming it back to here. The drone's collecting its GNSS, and it's positioning precisely in the air. Okay. Inside the drone, there are two magnetic compasses. There are also two inertial measurement units. Internal measurement unit keeps track of the actual position of the drone in orientation with the ground. So everything's redundant. The IMUs are not the super high end. So to compensate for that, that's why you have two of these antennas spread apart. So you get a nice trig solution to also supplement that. Let's see. The back side. Oh, on the face of the drone, obstacle avoidance cameras. Obstacle avoidance cameras. This is your first person camera. Okay, this is your eye in the sky. If we're flying in the drone in an area that we need to reconnoiter, or we need to check to make sure we're above a obstacle like a power pylon or a cell tower, you can look through this camera. There'll be an artificial horizon line. You can basically see, hey, if everything's below that line, I'm good to go. So I'll do a lot of scouting with this, or just, when I'm flying the mission, when everybody kind of wants to take a look at it. We're going to hook this up onto the screen and kind of show everything and go through the controller step by step by step. On the back side, this is where the batteries go in. I'm going to go grab a pair of batteries. Close enough. Yeah, pretty good. Ooh, look. Okay. So if you put your batteries in, again, you press the button here. You check, look at that. Pretty close, huh? Contacts are on the back. the battery just slides in. You don't have to slam them, just make sure they're seated. One on each side, the contact goes on the inside edge. And then you're gonna close this clip.
Okay.
You cannot take off without that clip closed, so it just won't let you. If it's in this position, it won't. You just clip it up. These batteries are hot swappable. So I said, what, 40-minute flight time-ish? If your mission is gonna be an hour, when it reaches a certain point, it's gonna give you a low battery warning. You pause the mission, you fly the drone back, you land it. You pop this open, you take one battery out at a time. So take the old battery out, put a fresh battery in. Take the other old battery out, put the fresh battery in, close it, set. Hit the play button, and it takes off, and it's a robot in the sky. Once you program it, all you're doing is babysitting it, for the most part.
So when you say pause the mission, you will go back to that
Exact same spot. On the mission map, puts a little 2-line pause symbol. Say, hey, this is where I paused. If something happens, and you turn the controller off, you do something accidental, it'll say, okay, dummy, you turned off the controller, do you want me to resume the mission? Yes, and you can pick resume, and it'll reprogram a new mission to pick up. So it's pretty fail-safe, which is kind of nice.
Sure. Where does it store the data? It has a hard drive in there?
No, it's all on SD cards on the cameras.
Oh, okay, on the cameras, okay.
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna hook up a unit to this. So the battery's in. It weighs a lot now.
I kind of with one of the batteries there. Pretty heavy.
So this is the drone by itself. This is, like I said, this is the Skyport. So this is gonna be the mount for any payloads. When we put the cameras on here, it is a floating sky mount. It's got these little shock absorbers on here. There is a safety cable. So the only thing holding it on are these little rubber shock absorbers. There are 4 replacements in the box. These are filled with some nasty white goo to help dampen vibrations, but they sometimes rupture. You'll know it ruptured because you'll see white smear stuff in the case. Just take a little alcohol and wipe it off. But these basically, you pop these out, just pull them out, and then you put the new ones in. You'll force one in the bottom, you'll force at the top, you'll give it a snap, it'll pop in place. Just in case there is a cable that prevents that from falling off as well. There is a safety cap, and there's a lock button. Never forget about the lock button, because the lock button prevents you from, anything you put on here gets locked. It prevents the things from falling off. Even the cap, you have to press the lock button and twist the cap off someplace. There it is. Okay. Don't lose that, but it's gonna be the second thing that gets lost or broken, because we already lost ours. Well, not on the new one. This is the Skyport, so it's a standardized port. All the payloads use this, even third-party payloads. DJI developed a little snap-on, so you can put it on here. So I'm gonna put a camera on, so you can see how it works. So I'm gonna grab the photogrammetry camera. Start with. You have 2 cameras here. You have a photogrammetry camera. This is a 45 megapixel, 35 millimeter, fixed zoom, global shutter, high-end camera. This captures data at about, what, 8,000 by 5,000 pixels-ish? Actually more than that, almost half that. It has an interchangeable lens, but right now we only have a 35 millimeter, which is going to be used for most operations. Comes out of the box. All these payloads are gimbaled like this, so when you're handling, you can handle them like that. You can grab them like this. They're not super delicate. Don't want to slam it against the wall, but you don't have to be super ginger with it. Okay. I usually hold it like this, okay, because it's just nice and convenient. This particular camera is the camera base here. It's like any other 35 millimeter. If I take the lens off, you can see the sensor. It's got a huge sensor in this. This is a big light gatherer. Lens cap. Anything that I take off when I'm in the field, I put in the box so I don't lose it. You're also going to want to make sure this is closed because this acts like a big sail. If there's any puff of wind, we'll say it'll roll right across the ground. So just to save you, I cut it down. There is a cap on the top. Go ahead and put it in there.
Box.
So when you're in the field putting this on, again, usually I'm doing this on the drone. So it's gimbal this way, this way, this way. Once it's on, it's locked in place. The drone can move in any direction. The camera's gonna stay right where it's at. Okay.
Okay.
For a mission, it's usually pointing straight down, getting nadir imagery. Okay. And again, the drone will move, and the camera's gonna stay locked on. There's also a swivel at the top for your pitch axis, or your y-axis. So on the front of each of these, there is a red dot and a white dot. You have this other camera, there's a red dot and a white dot. There's a red dot in the front. You're gonna line the white dot with the red dot. And then twist to the red to red. Yeah, it's tight on there. This one happened to me last time. This first one might need a touch of TLC. There it is. So I had to use 2 fingers, and sometimes you're gonna see that. After a little while though, you can put a little, like a little silicone lubricant on your finger very lightly or something, and just touch those blades. You don't wanna get anything on the contacts. But I'll add a little lubrication to that. So white to red, and usually I'll either push down on it, because you're pushing against that. Sometimes I'll push down just to get it started, and then I may have to take 2 fingers, and it'll click. This will lock in place. So then when I'm in the field, I'm gonna try to back it off. It should be locked. Okay. To take it off, you're gonna have to press the button on the side and twist it off. It'll be rough the first few times you use it. It'll burnish it.
How does this look at the right direction when in sky? Is that sort of controller or
So once it's on,
just tumbles down?
no, these are motors, okay?
Okay.
But they're off at this time.
Uh-huh.
And most times they're very, very, very delicate. If you start this up and there's any kind of pressure pushing on this, they'll fail to initialize. And they'll tell you, you'll get a big warning, motors, excessive force on motors shutting down. Okay? So once we turn this on, the motors will come into place and this will be locked. And then there are controls then you can move. Okay. So this is a typical flight condition for photogrammetry. This is gonna be your photogrammetry configuration. Okay? To power on the drone, there is a power switch on the top. So just a button. Okay? Everything DJI, minus that thing. You press once, let go, press and hold. You hear the fans come on. The motors are, the gimbal's gonna go through its check motion, so it's gonna go through the entire gamut. And it's gonna come to the front. The motors are gonna tick. It's gonna give you the happy, I'm happy sound. That's it, it's ready to go. Okay?
How does it sound when it's not happy?
It will beep at you incessantly. Okay. So now you can see that the gimbal is, it's not moving.
Okay.
Okay. If I move the drone,
Okay.
that's how it's good.
What did you call it? The gimbal?
Gimbal, yep.
Mm.
It's a 6-axis gimbal.
What does these lights mean? Do they have a meaning? Like that one is green?
Yes.
This one is
Yep.
red.
The red lights are always gonna stay red solid. That's the indicator of the front of the drone. So when you're flying in the sky, it's just an X. You can hardly tell what's what, okay? So you're gonna look for the red's gonna be the front, so you know which way's forward. The rear right now is flashing yellow, okay? That's because I haven't hooked up the controller yet. So it's saying, hey, I need some stuff and attention. The back, when everything's good, the back's gonna be green, and it's gonna flash twice. Like that, and you'll know it's good. If it has the controller but no GPS, it'll be green and yellow back and forth. Okay? And while it's updating, everything will be red and yellow flashing. It'll look like a disco light. So
They're pretty bright, right?
yeah, we could turn them off when we go in here. That's because you're looking at these from
I was just
a mile away. You want them pretty bright. I haven't turned these on. These are really bright. So I'll show you how you can turn those off temporarily, but in real situation, you'll always leave them on, especially for aircraft avoidance. Any questions on kind of, we're gonna all rip it down and put it together, and then we're gonna go through controller. We're gonna leave it on here while we make missions, so you can see what we look at through the controller.